all trying to make it to the NCAA tournament and kind of cement their legacy at this level before they go to the NBA game. Chief among those is AJ Dybantsa. And so we got to talk about him. We got to talk about him within the context of this BYU class, this BYU team, but just the sport of college basketball this season. He is going to be one of the major players. One of those guys you were talking about could be in the National Player of the Year mix.
For sure. He's come out. He's played 2 exhibition games so far. We've had Nebraska where he went for 30 and UNC where he went for 18. Looking at what he does, looking at what he's able to bring, you see him violently getting downhill. Mm-hmm. That's obviously the eye-popping thing. That's what you notice immediately. At 6'9", possibly 6'10", a guy who's able to get downhill, create advantages in the half court, and finish at the rim consistently above other players, get to the free throw line. However, you also see skill. You also see the ability of somebody who's able to create advantages in the half court within his area, within a phone booth. You see the footwork. You see the mid-post work. You see his ability to just create clean looks at the basket all throughout at multiple levels of the floor. And as the three-point shot is continuing to develop, you really see a guy who has a lot. Which is why he's being talked about as the number 1 overall prospect in next year's draft upcoming. You see a guy that offers everything along the lines of upside and what could be the long-term potential of what it could get to. You're seeing it in place. You're seeing it within the construct of a team that is developed around him. You see it so he's not going to have to initiate every possession. He's not going to have to score every possession. He's not going to have to hit the boards and crash every possession. He's going to be able to get within the flow of what his offense is, and he's doing it with a guy in Kevin Young who was at the NBA level, at the incredibly high level. He's going to be able to streamline his game, find efficient looks, and what he has right now is going to be even more efficient as the season goes on, as he gets used to within the flow of the offense and what his team's doing here. But what you're seeing with AJ Dybantsa is just a lot of tools, a lot of boxes checked. That you look at the highest level with the positional versatility, the athletic fluidity, and explosive pop, and the skill set, the footwork, the balance points, being able to score at multiple levels, et cetera. The list goes on. The raw talent of AJ Dybantsa is so incredibly high. It's going to be fascinating to see how it continues to grow throughout the season.
Yeah, he's such a fascinating player here at the top of this draft class. And I think this whole draft class as a whole, the way that it's going to be talked about is going to be such a reset from what conversations have been in the past few years. I mean, you look at last year and it was the Cooper Flag show. And then it was what behind that did we have the year before? There were different kinds of conversations because there wasn't that generational talent coming through in that class. You look the year before, it was Victor Wembanyama. Okay, yeah, he's Victor Wembanyama. Then we'll talk about everybody else. This year we've got...
That's tough, though. Victor, man.
Yeah, exactly. You talk about Victor and it's just like, okay, yeah, Victor's something different. But this year we're talking about 3 guys who could, maybe even 4, depending on how Ament develops over the course of the season, who could be real viable number 1 caliber prospects on any board. And so they're going to get picked apart in ways that some previous number 1 pick candidates haven't been. They're also going to get highlighted in a way that some others have not been throughout the course of the season. And so for AJ, I think what the common fan is going to be able to see immediately is getting to spots. I mean, he can get to his spot almost anywhere on the court that he wants. That's what he is going to excel at. That's going to make him stand out. That's going to make him look different on the floor than the other guys who are around him. And then from there, yeah, we're going to get into all the NBA draft talk things of range of outcomes, measurements, all kinds of different things that will separate him, Peterson, Boozer, Ament. But when it comes to college basketball, I think that he is just such a unique breed of player that we don't see often, because when we do see them, they're only here for 1 year.
No, for sure. And I think it's going to be interesting, too, because it's 2 very different conversations. You have the guys who are going to vie for national type player of the year. Then you have the guys that are going to vie for number 1 overall pick. Mm-hmm. I don't think Cam Boozer and Darren Peterson are yet to AJ Dybantsa's level when it comes to NBA draft stock.
Yep.
However, I think both of those guys will probably have more productive college years this year and vie for the National Player of the Year. I don't think Dybantsa will vie for National College Player of the Year this year, possibly All-American honors, but I do think that the other two will. So that's just the different, the different dynamics, the different conversations that are being had within the realm of what these freshmen are bringing.
Yeah. And then we look at the rest of the class. Xavion Staton, of course, is going to get plenty of attention. He won't have to come in and be an immediate impact player because they've got some veteran depth in that front court. But I've liked the tape that I've seen of him. I've really liked at 7 foot his ability to do some things on the defensive end and potentially carve out a role for himself on this BYU team.
What he brings is he was the premier rim protector in the 2025 high school recruiting class. Now, he was newer to the game, so there's a lot of development that still needs to be had when it comes to feel, when it comes to instincts and stuff for the game. But his rim protection, which is an incredibly valuable aspect of the game, was undeniable. And left hand, right hand, off ball, on ball, whatever it was, he was a high level rim protector. Good athlete, straight line. He can run, long strider up and down the floor, front of the rim. Now it's just expanding his game, expanding his skill set, and getting the feel together for it. He's one of those ones that, like you said, he brings something that translates immediately. That's incredibly valuable to the game, and his role could be varied at a pretty high rate as to what it is that he brings. But high level shot blocker with a lot of upside.
Yeah, and bring some experience playing with AJ to the court. All both guys from Utah Prep this past year. So, what are the expectations for BYU, not just as a team, but this group of incoming guys? They're meshing with some incoming transfers, some guys that we'll talk about next week when we talk about returning guys who are on the NBA draft radar. It seems like you mentioned Kevin Young and just how highly thought of he is as a basketball coach. What does that do for these guys in their development, playing alongside these other players and being with a coach like that?
Well, what it does in having the diversity that this team has, I mean, this team has 4, possibly 5 different guys that can lead a team in scoring on any given night. Obviously, AJ will probably take the most of those. However, you do have the Rob Wrights, the Richie Saunders, the Keba Kedas of the world that will also lead the team in scoring at some point throughout this year. What Kevin Young has, what we saw from him this past year was him coming in as a new college head coach, a new group of players. What they did was grow throughout the year. They went through some early lumps as they were figuring each other out, both Young and the players, everybody figuring each other out. But then once we saw it click, we saw a run to the Elite Eight that they had. I think it's a lot of the same this year in the fact that there's a common goal that everybody has together. They understand what Kevin Young could bring together scheme-wise and all that, the efficient looks that he's going to be able to create for everybody on the floor, how everybody will be able to get to their spots. Everybody's going to have their plays run for them, the quick hitters, the reads, and all that type of stuff out of their base sets. And I think that this team has a high upside. Again, another one, when you have 4 guys, possibly 5, with Davis and everybody coming in, who can lead a team in scoring, that's tough to defend against. How do you look at the scouting report there, especially when you have a guy like Kevin Young who can scheme up, okay, our matchup is with Saunders today, so we're going to run decoys with Dybantsa and get Saunders free looks, or Keita down low. If they're running too high to double team on ball, Keba free at the basket in front of the rim. You have Rob Wright, who's able to touch the paint, penetrate at will, collapse the defense. You have all these different looks and stuff that you have, and you have a really smart coach who's able to pinpoint the advantages on the court and play toward those advantages, and a group of guys who can take advantage of the advantages.